My name is Rafael, you're watching Rock and Roll Garage, and today I'm going to tell you why the metal god Rob Halford was Black Sabbath's vocalist twice. That's right. But first, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave your comment, tell me if you knew about this or not. Well, the first time that Halford, the Judas Priest vocalist, became Sabbath's vocalist was back in 1992 during a concert at Costa Mesa, California. And the thing is, Sabbath had recently, at that time, reunited with Ronnie James Dio and Vinny Appice, the drummer. They were both from that classic era of the band, post-Ozzy. And they were apart for almost a decade since Dio and Appice left Black Sabbath. And they reunited, they recorded the album The Humanizer, which became the final album with Appice and Dio under the name Black Sabbath. They would obviously record the Devil You Know album later on as Heaven and Hell, which became like a spin-off band of Black Sabbath. But the thing is, at the time, Tony and Geezer accepted an offer to be Ozzy Osbourne's opening act. And obviously that pissed Dio off a lot. And he said he wouldn't do that show because they made the wrong decision. He said they were making the wrong decision to open for their ex-vocalist. And he said in many interviews that he tried to warn Tony and Geezer that it was not a good idea because Sabbath was much bigger than Ozzy. And so they just had a discussion, and Dio wouldn't be part of that show, although he performed with the band during their tour at the time. And they finally had the idea to call Rob Halford, who always has been a big fan of Black Sabbath. He knows, he already knew most of the songs, and he accepted to fill in for Dio, who also was a good friend of him. And he did the show that night. And if you look here on YouTube, you can see the entire show and many snippets of songs. And it's quite interesting to hear Rob playing and singing the Black Sabbath songs. And it happened only for that night, and that became really the main reason why Dio left Black Sabbath again. And obviously Appice also left the band and continued for a while with Dio. And later on, the group continued with Tony and Geezer. Geezer would be part of the 1994 album Cross Purposes, which recruited again the vocalist Tony Martin, who had been the band's vocalist before Dio rejoined the group in the early 90s. And the second time Halford was Black Sabbath's vocalist was in 2004 at the Ozzfest. Ozzy had his own festival called Ozzfest, if you didn't know that. Just like Slipknot has their own festival nowadays, which is called Not Fest, right? And Black Sabbath, in the 90s, Black Sabbath, the original lineup, had a reunion. Obviously, in the late 90s, they recorded a live album, which is pretty good. And you had, again, Ozzy on vocals, Bill Ward on drums, and obviously Geezer and Tony Iommi. And although they made a few shows at the time, in the following years, although the band was inactive and didn't record anything, they would reunite frequently for one-off shows. And that would happen in 2004 at the Ozzfest. However, In the same day the show would happen, Ozzy was feeling sick. He wouldn't have the chance to sing that night. And Sharon Osbourne had the idea to call Rob again, and that's what she did, and he accepted the offer, and he sang again with Sabbath that night. So Rob Halford, the metal god, was Black Sabbath's vocalist twice in his life. I mean, it's just incredible. And I also have some a statement that Rob gave in a few interviews about those concerts, and we're gonna read together a few of those. In an interview with Chris Jericho in 2020, this is what he said. I've said many times, love of my life is Priest, but there is Sabbath. So that first time we did have a little bit of preparation because Tony called me in advance. We talked about the set list, and the guys came through Phoenix on their way to California, and we had one rehearsal. I learned the songs, which I already knew. I know all the Sabbath songs. Then, like a day or two later, we had those two shows. It was actually two shows, I'm sorry for that, back in 1992. And we had those two shows, and that was just so surreal. I think I told a funny story about getting lost on stage before the show starts. That's in the book, the biography he wrote. We all got dressed. I walked out with Tony to the left side of the stage. Then the lights get down, the fans start screaming, and then the intro tape starts. So I go, Tony, when we are walking on, and he's gone. And I go, Tony, I can't find Tony. And we said previously, we got to the left, and I go to the right. So I'm stumbling in the dark by myself, trying to find the entrance into the stage. I find it, and I'm looking, there's smoke. So I start to walk out thinking that the band is there. So I walk out to the middle of the stage. It was like a bit of lighting. Fans are going mad. I look around, there's nobody on stage. I'm like, God, I've come out too early. Shall I walk back off again? Then I see Tony walking in, and he's laughing his head off. He's a real jokester. Tony loves to pull pranks. Everybody in that band is a jokester. That's what he said about that first experience with Black Sabbath back in the early 90s. And in an interview a few years, in the same interview actually with Chris Jericho, he talked about the second experience that happened at the Ozzfest in 2004. And he said, the thing over in Camden, I think it was Sharon, called me a couple of hours before the show. She said, Ozzy's not feeling very well. Can you sing his show? And I said, yeah, when you want me to do it? She goes, tonight. I'm like, tonight? So you do what you do, but we help each other, don't we? We got each other's backs. That's the main thing. That's what Rob said about this second experience as the Black Sabbath vocalist. And, well, I hope you like the story. This is quite interesting, and if you haven't seen Rob performing with Sabbath, you should take a look on YouTube and watch the songs. It's pretty interesting. I would love to see Tony Iommi, for example, recording with Halford one day. Can you imagine that? It would be fantastic. And another curious thing is that both bands are from Birmingham, England. They were both formed in that city. And although they were formed quite almost the same time, because Sabbath was formed in 1968 and Judas was formed in 1969. However, Sabbath had the chance to release their debut album in 1970, and Judas would only do that in 1974, 4 years later. And Rob Halford, for example, would only join the band shortly before their first album. So although they were formed at the same time, Judas had many lineup changes, and they ended up only recording much after their debut album. Well, I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave your comment, tell me what you think, and of course, visit rockandrollgarage.com. Thank you for watching, and see you later.